Shalom, everybody. Rabbi Edelstein here with this week's installment of Rabbi Ian 3, brought to you by MEOR DC. And I'm going to get right into the subject matter at hand. I'm probably going to go over 3 minutes. I'm sorry, and it's not going to be directly connected to this week's Torah portion of Shemini in the book of Vayikra, Leviticus. Check it out. And the reason I'm saying all these things is because my dad passed away last week. Some of you might have heard who know me or get our emails, and it's been a tough week. I got up from Shiva this morning, but I want to share with you a few thoughts about my dad and about his life, not for the purpose of just getting out my feelings, which is a nice thing, and that's one of the beauties of Shiva, that our sages instituted beautiful laws to help us through very difficult periods. So I've been talking about my dad and crying and sharing beautiful stories, so I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm really doing it for the honor of my father. He supported me in MEOR, the work I do, the work my wife does. He was behind us in every way. Though it was a different path than he could have ever envisioned for his son, I think, but he helped us in every possible way. Shalom Zed ben Getzel. So this is for the Aliyah for his neshama. This discussion right now for a few minutes is for the elevation of his soul and an honor for his soul. He who did so much for me. So he was I'll talk a tiny bit about him and then go to the lessons I want to draw from his life and this week of Shiva for us today. He was a sweet and a kind and a good-hearted man. And people liked him. He was a good guy and much more than that. He was a loyal father, always there for us, did anything for his children, a loyal husband and a loving husband, more than 55 years with my mom, and supported her in her career and everything she did. He was her biggest fan. He was a wonderful grandfather, loved all his grandchildren. Some of those precious memories I have of will be always of him, seeing his heart melt when he would hug my kids. And he was a doctor, and his professional life was a very important part of his life. He was an obstetrician in Hartford, Connecticut, and West Hartford, where I grew up, and delivered thousands and thousands of babies, without a joke. I mean, without exaggeration. My sister at the eulogy said, I loved my dad. He was my hero. He delivered all my friends. And then my sister said those friends grew up and he delivered their kids. So, and my mom always told me, and my mom's a doctor, so she knows, I think, she should live and be well. My mom always said, your dad's a really good doctor. She always said he's a great surgeon and all these things. And, you know, and the stories I heard from his patients of his love, of his devotion. He saved my life. He sat by my bedside for 24 hours. I mean, I knew my dad was a good guy, and I guess I knew he was a good doctor, but I learned way more about how wonderfully special he was in that role of kindness and goodness. And that's really, I think, how he practiced medicine. And he was funny, and he was great to be around, and very humble. No, never looking for the spotlight. So I could go on and on about these qualities, and we should all love to talk about our parents, you know, forever and ever. But I want to give 3 lessons that I've learned in the last week about my father and his life and Shiva that we can use. Number 1, and they're things that we probably won't, you know, fully master these ideas. We've heard them before, but they strike me much more deeply now. Appreciate those you love. Of course, you don't appreciate something till they're gone fully. That's probably going to always be that way. But I noticed something in this week of Shiva. There were photographs of my dad all over that I was looking at, him with my daughter Sarah when she was a little girl and all my other kids, and the beautiful pictures that communicated to me right away what a wonderful person he was, what a good relationship we had. Why am I mentioning that? Because in the busyness of life, there are tensions and there are fights and there's irritability and no person is perfect, and my dad and me had our moments and whatever, but appreciate those you love, and not just like a slogan, but take out that photo album or look on your cell phone before your mom or dad is about to pay a visit, or when they got you angry about some little thing or you got them angry. Go into the kitchen and look at the picture and then say, oh, it'll be like, you know, the wind will blow away the clouds of all those irritations, and you'll see, what a good person, what a nice person. Appreciate those you love. Appreciate life is the second lesson. The physical details of life. My dad, in his later days, didn't eat much. He said food didn't taste like anything to him, and it was hard to eat. That's not uncommon, unfortunately, in older people. He had trouble moving. He had trouble doing all the bodily functions that we take for granted. Don't take for granted appetite. Appetite is a gift. Hunger is a gift. Hashem, it's a miracle. It's a miracle, and it's a signal that your body needs to eat, and it keeps you going. And movement and all the different functions of life, they afford us pleasure. Eating is fun, right? But it's a miracle of Hashem's purpose and how He designed us as human beings. So appreciate all these things. A good appetite is an incredible blessing. It's a sign of life and of vigor. And my dad lost it at the end. And finally, see the good in others. It's related to number one, appreciating those you love. My dad was so good, and in part of the Shiva process, I guess, in the morning process, is cutting through all the surface junk that got in the way sometimes in life of me seeing how good he was. I knew he was good, but I know it more now. But with our other relationships, we all have bad traits. We all have annoyances. We all annoy each other sometimes. Deep down, Judaism teaches the soul is pure, and just, the people we deal with, our friends and our family, they're good people. See the good, search out the good, and in ourselves, extremely important in ourselves, see the good. It makes life more enjoyable, and it's more true. It's true. The other stuff is not real. The real person is the good person. The good deep down, my father, his kindness, his goodness, his sweetness, his compassion. He was a leiv tov, a good heart. Unfortunately, his physical heart gave out at the end, but he was a good heart. I hope these lessons are an elevation for his soul. Shalom Zeb ben Getzel. Have a wonderful Shabbos. We should only share simchas together. And thank you so much for listening.